To get us started, could you tell me how you came to be the rabbi at the JCC of LBI?
I was a lawyer for 25 years, and at about the age of 41, I said, "All right, it's enough, and I'm going to go and go back to rabbinical school." So it's not easy to do that, obviously. I mean, I had a family to support, and I had a law practice that and a law partner, and and it was not easy. And you say, "Oh, wow, that's pretty miraculous that you were able to accomplish that." I ended up going to JTS, which is the Jewish Theological Seminary. It's in Manhattan. So I had to go there full time, but also had to work full time. And you say, "Oh, that's pretty intense," and it's a wonder you're able to do it. And I say, no, it's not really a wonder I was able to do it, because I loved what I was doing, and I had a goal of becoming a rabbi. So even though it was tough, it was doable. The miracle was that Sherry, my wife, let me do it. So we proceeded. It was a long process. It took a total of 8 years. And normally it's it's a 5 to 6 year program, but I had to split a couple of years in half. But at any rate, when I was ordained in 2012, certain that I wanted to be a congregational rabbi, because I felt that I had a message to bring about Judaism and how to do Jewish. But the question was where, because we pretty much wanted to stay in New Jersey. My parents lived at the time in a half hour away, 45 minutes away, and Sherry's parents both lived there. So, but the problem is there weren't a whole heck of a lot of jobs in and around New Jersey. So we started looking around, and we didn't find anything that made us happy. And so I said, all right, well, I'll be a lawyer for another year, not did it for long enough, can continue. And then literally the day we decided that, the phone rang at the house, and it was Harold Farron, who is a longtime member of the JCC, calling because the rabbi at the time, Rabbi Jack Friedman, had been ill, and they were looking for rabbis to cover that summer. And this was July. And a mutual friend of ours had told Harold or the JCC that there was that I had been looking for something to do. So he called me, and we came, and he said, "You want to be a rabbi for a week?" I said, "Yeah, well, that would be fun." So we came down, and it was like walking into home, frankly. And so we came back in August, and we had a better time than we had the first time. What ended up happening was that, unfortunately, Rabbi Jack, he did not get sufficiently better to be able to come back, and he decided not to. And they needed a rabbi for the high holidays, and I said, okay, happy to do it. And so we did high holidays, and then after the high holidays were over, the board approached me and said, would you consider being our rabbi? And that was, that was how I ended up here. The truth is, I am pretty certain it was, God sort of pulling the strings in the background, because one thing I didn't tell you is that Sherry, Long Beach Island is her happy place. This is where she vacationed her entire childhood. And so to come here for her was like coming back to heaven a little bit. And it was, so I say it's God's gift to Sherry. My being here was God's gift to Sherry for letting me go to rabbinical school. So anyway, long story to get to how we got here. But
what are some of the rewarding aspects of serving as rabbi to the JCC?
The most warming pieces of it are, just being here when people need us or need me. But it's more than me. It's really needing the tradition, and I'm just a vehicle to help people get to the tradition. But if someone is in pain, if someone's lost someone, if someone has someone who's ill, and just being able to speak with someone and try to lighten their load just a bit, we're not going to solve problems, but we can help people to address them. Whatever they are. So if someone's sick, I can find a prayer maybe that works for someone. But even if it's not a prayer, even if it's just talking with someone and being present, letting someone know, look, if you need to, call me. I'm here. And it's very gratifying when somebody, when the call that they make after they hear from, the doctor, or after they get bad news, when the next call after, reaching out to your loved ones is to call the rabbi or the community and say, we need you. And so it's comforting to know that people know that we're here. And that's strengthening. That's just if people are on the, in a not such a good place. But, look, life cycle events like B'nai Mitzvah or weddings or baby namings or conversions, each one is just like you just created a whole new beautiful world with each one of these things. And being a rabbi and being a part of that is just, that's what you do it for.
So many people encounter challenges throughout their life, and certainly right now in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people are facing a lot of challenges. So drawing both from your own personal experience and also your religious and spiritual trainings, what thoughts do you have on and how we're able to go through and to meet these challenges and hopefully overcome them?
Well, the first thing I do, in the context as a rabbi of a community, our tradition really knows how to deal with these issues. We've, for 2,000 years, we were going from one problem to the next, and there's a lot inside the tradition that helps us, or should help us, or can help us to address. The first is community and the strength of community, and not feeling as if you're doing this by yourself. And you're, I don't want to say suffering by yourself, but confronting the issues by yourself. The day that we went into quarantine, the day that the government said, if you're not a non-essential worker, stay home. I asked the board to make phone calls to congregants to do check-ins and make sure that folks are there. And the board was stupendous. They called every name in the list, and more than once, just to check in. And I think that's a start. When we can let people know we're here. The other piece to it is that traditional things that we do help us to become stronger in these times. I think just going to a Shabbat service and being a part of community in that, and singing familiar songs, and with each holiday that we had, being able to do something that you're used to, even albeit in a different way, I think it helps to give strength and helps to make you feel supported. And then people, what's really, I found the most warming piece of this whole situation was really how everybody who you spoke with in the community was always concerned about somebody else in the community. Oh, I'm fine, but could you call this one? Or making suggestions. And that's beautiful stuff. And that's what you look for when if you're rabbi in a community, you want to make sure that everybody cares about everybody else. So I think it is all about knowing that you're part of something, and when you've got a support group of some sort, that it helps to get through it. But it's not easy, right?
Yeah. How do you help maintain the JCC's connection to its past while also helping it to move forward into the future?
Well, look, the first thing we do to try to do that is make sure that we're, always in communication with members past, past and present, and connect with, making sure that we don't lose ties to those folks who have been an important part of the community. And sometimes, part of what we were talking about before, sometimes it's hard to navigate what the folks who have been here for 30 years want. It's hard to combine that with what the folks who we hope will be here for the next 30 years want, because the Jewish world has changed, the world has changed, and but we try to make the connection. And in truth, we're fortunate at the JCC. We have a very connected board, and a board that really cares about the past and about the future. And well, that's part of how you ended up doing what you're doing here. That there's a real, concern and a real caring for where we were and where we want to be. And I think that actually, Alison, I think that follows Jewish tradition somewhat. I always talk from the Bima about the fact that each one of us comprises, three sort of chronologic spots, that we are always at one time, we're informed from our past and we're looking toward the future, and we're sort of in the middle trying to bring the two together. You try to bring those two together. And that's, we have so many parts of our liturgy that talk about the past, the present, and the future. And so that's I think that's part of what we as a JCC need to always be focused on, that we don't have a future if we don't connect it to our past. And just as we're not here today unless we think about the future. So we're here fully today until we think about the future.
Why is it important for people to become involved with the JCC? Well,
I think that the big answer to that is that the Jewish people have something to offer to the world, and not always 100% certain what that is, but our tradition, our Torah, the things that we do, we're here for a purpose. On some level, the purpose is to make the world a better place. Often we talk about tikkun olam, and repairing a world that is, not perfect. There's a piece of our tradition that says that God did not complete the creation, that God created humanity in order to help God to finish the job. And we are part of that humanity. We're not the only ones in humanity that are obligated to do it, but we're part of that humanity. And so, it's important to be a part of this for that. But it's also important to be a part of what we talked about before. Just people need community. And we seek community. We don't really want to be alone. We want to feel like we're a part of something, and our tradition has a lot to offer for that. And we try to split it up into different ways. So, there are lots of different people out there. My rabbi, my adult rabbi, for the last 35 years has been Rabbi Alan Silverstein, who always taught us that we are mostly split. We mostly fit into three categories. Don't want to oversimplify things, but in terms of our Jewishness, at least, that we're what we call hand, head, and heart Jews. That essentially, there is the hand Jew is the one who wants to go out and repair the world and do things. The ones who want to make sure the environment's fine, want to make sure that that people in need get. And then there's the head Jew, which is the intellectual, the one who wants to study, read Torah, study Torah, whatever, and wants to spend the time Jewishly doing that. And then the heart Jew, which is the spiritual Jew, the one who wants to pray, wants to connect with God. And if as a community we can figure out ways to incorporate all of those, then every person out there has a reason to be here and be a part of who we are from a Jewish lens.
What are some of your hopes for the JCC of LBI as we look forward to the future?
Well, I think that in terms of, there's broad, general hopes and specific hopes. First off, always wanting to build and strengthen community, which is funny. It's not the easiest thing to do. We are an island that's 18 miles long. In the summer, it gets very crowded. We are in the southern last third of the island, and it's hard to bring those in the northern third of the island down, especially on a Saturday here, because this is, that's a changeover day, whatever it is, it's hard. So building and strengthening the community, after building it is a matter of getting as many people involved in doing that strengthening process as possible. As a rabbi, you want to help people to build and to strengthen, but I think probably the better rabbis or or better clergy find the folks who will help to build and make it stronger. Hopes, finding those people, strengthening and building. So that's sort of generality. And look, I think that Judaism itself has so much to offer to the world, whether it's a Jewish world or not a Jewish world. It just has a lot to offer. So specifically, I'd love to turn this JCC somehow into some kind of a retreat center. This is already a vacation spot. So, in the season, like in fall and the spring, to bring people here to experience Judaism on the island in a way that it can't be experienced any other place. Where else can you get up in the morning and literally watch a sunrise and watch that sun come up unimpeded, unblocked by anything, and then at night, watch that same sun go down? We are a tradition of cycle, and that daily cycle is very important. So if we can bring people here in a retreat and explain the cycle from the 24-hour period, and then take a look at the environment from the bay to that ocean, and from the beach to what goes on in the middle of the island, I'd love to do that. Love to do that. One thing that I think we need to do as a community, as a rabbi, however that is, find ways to engage the younger folk in what we do here. We have a lot to offer. The tradition has a lot to offer, and we have to I'd just love to figure out a way to include and involve the younger set in what it is we do.
If you only had 3 words to describe the JCC of LBI, which 3 words would you choose?
I would start with home. I would next go to home, heart, home, heart, and family. That it is a place where you can physically be, a place where you can spiritually be and be nurtured, and a place where when you walk in, you feel as if the person that you're speaking with is someone who you've been together with for your whole life.